Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another Quickview. That's not a first. Welcome back to a Quickview of a Class 1 tire. That's also not a first. We've done that a couple times. Welcome back to a Canyon first, which is... can we read it on the sidewall? Yeah, Louise. For those who don't follow, also, the Mallet. For those who don't follow intricately the ins and outs, the political infighting of tire manufacturer, Louise was, for many, many years, the OE supplier of tires for dirt tracks. So theoretically, this is the same compound. We've never tested Louise tire here because Louise were not typically distributed within the United States. It is my unfounded in fact, but it is my personal idea / opinion that the reason that Louise were not sold in the United States is because there was an exclusivity contract as they were being distributed in the United States by Dirt Tracks, who is owned by Horizon. At some point very recently, Horizon, the Louise Mallet comes with a medium soft single stage open cell foam. They feel pretty good. They were mangled. So they got heat gunned to get them to where they are. At some point, the 800-pound gorilla that is Horizon decided, you know what? We already own another tire brand. We already own these guys. So are we watering down our own market? This is all speculation. So they decided, in their divine wisdom, let's not do that anymore. So the contract with Louise was terminated, and all of the Duratrax tires went on clearance, blowout, discontinued, no longer available, etc., etc. So you can't get deep woods anymore. You can't get approaches or pivots, or we could never get mallets. They never came. Duratrax never made a mallet. So now, HRP does indeed distribute Louise in the United States in both crawler and other tires, and you can get them. So, we are going to have the opportunity in the upcoming days to test some of the Louise tires. Many folks will be pleased to see that when Louise was distributing for Duratrax, the old Louise tires looked like this as well. Only over here it would say like Louise, and then it would say the deep woods are the champ. It would say the champ CR right here. But the tire would look cosmetically identical. And it was nice in the Duratrax in that you could run it with the smooth out, or you could run with the print out. People didn't like the white print. So on the newer Louise offerings, you've got print on this side and nothing on this side. So I think they look a little generic with the nothing on the outside. So we'll be running the Mallet's print on the outside. They will be mounted with our typical, our usual choice, which is Amazon Method 105s. We have many, many sets of them in many different colors because they tend to go on sale relatively often. Some of these sets of 105s were picked up for $23 for the set. It's hard to pass that up. Not explicitly bubble juice mandatory, but it definitely makes assembly of them a little bit easier. And if we can take off a moment of time in mounting the tire simply by putting a little bit of child's bubble solution on it, why would we not? I was discussing in the comment where someone had said, I've mounted my tires dry forever. I never need any sort of mount aid to mount them. And to paraphrase, I don't know why you would either. Well, sir, I take no offense to this comment, but if I were to reach up and grab a wooden bar up here and pull down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 32 sets of tires would fall on you. Immediately below the camera right now are 4 sets of tires. Immediately out of frame are several more sets of tires. There are the buckets of tires. There's pegboard covered in tires. The orange cabinet behind me stores beadlocks, both the testing series beadlocks and beadlocks that are too new to have been put into service yet, as well as other beadlocks not in service yet. It has grown to 3 drawers. Each drawer holds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It holds 8 sets of beadlocks. There's about 25 sets back there. I said in that very comment, I mount on average about 350 sets of beadlocks a year, and it's probably actually more than that. So if it saved me 1 minute per set, if this little gent right here saved me 1 minute per beadlock set, that would be 6 hours a year less beadlock mounting time. Let's see if these were sitting against each other long enough. We can... Oh, yeah. So, Louise doesn't call it C3 like Dirt Tracks did. They just call it super soft. So a super soft compound on a medium soft foam. These feel quite good. What I should have done was dismounted my set of pivots so that I could see how close the mallet is to the pivot. And there's a commonality in that they are both tires, but they are not close. This was one that was also, I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's a Louise equivalent of the pivot. At least in my recollection, there is not. I don't know why that is. And these were a later Duratrax edition, because you see, there's your biggest commonality. The sidewalls are the same. With the 419 by 1.4 by 1.9, they're like the same there. We've got a little mountain for Louise. We've got these little guys on the sides of pivot. Duratrax are. But yeah, very close. Definitely more squared of a shoulder on the mallet. I like the look of the mallet a lot. And I have that thing. What's that thing? What's the name of that thing? High Hopes. Got high hopes. This is a tire that, what do we do? What is the rule of the day? Meter your expectations. Temper your expectations. Don't get your hopes up too high, lest they be dashed figuratively and literally on the rocks. But I love the look of this tire. And they are sticky enough that they're picking stuff up off the bench. Sidewall feels good. Yeah, you caught me. I've got the tire sizer right behind me, and I'm going to remember to use it. Although on a Class 1, you know, they're 419s. So, if for anybody who saw the April Fool's episode, that's the Tamiya. That's those Tamiya wheels. They just fit. They just fit. 1/14th scale semi wheels. Well, they just fit in that they fit. They fit, but they didn't. So the mallet should be about what are we? 106, 106 to 108. Helm to 107, which is right between 106 and 108, if my math is right. And they are. I tell you what, that's 40 millimeters wide. That's 40 wide, which is 1 and 9/16. What do they say these are going to be? 1.4. They're a little wider than that. Could we mush it down? Yeah, we can't mush that down to 1.4. Maybe on a silicone insert or some other style of insert, we could get down to 1.4. These are definitively just above 1.5. That might be too wide for some. I think they look tremendous, and I think the shoulder has a nice squared edge to it, and I do like that. I started off not caring if tires have a rounded profile on the top, like how a Rupture has that rounded to it. And people have started to poison me. They're like, ugh, I hate that. And now it's started to creep in. It's crept into me slowly over time to the point where I didn't even notice it. And now if a tire has an excessively rounded shoulder, I'm like, I don't think I like that. I think these look great. That's a good looking tire. I have a very hopeful place for these. We'll see if they end up there. Again, medium soft dirt, Louise. Oh, and perhaps most importantly, for those of you into this, every pair of Louise tires comes with a sticker. It looks like it says mouse. If you just look at it really close, mouse. I think it's this thing, and then we just ignore the I. Mouse. Chrome. Who doesn't love a chrome sticker? We were going to hit this will be the first time Louise rubber has touched the canyon floor. Or is it? Is this just Duratrax C3? Did Louise have their own compound? Are the Fast Trax tires, like the Rocco, etc., available in Europe and the UK? Are those different still? A part of you, the rational part, would say, that's crazy. That's crazy. We should just make the same exact tire and put different stuff on the outside. No. The extremely rational part of your brain would say, just sell one tire everywhere. Why aren't we selling Louise everywhere in the world? Why was it Duratrax here, Louise in this part of the... Imagine that America's in the middle, like when maps are made, because we put America in the middle. Why was Duratrax here, Louise over here, and Fast Trax over here? Why isn't it just Louise everywhere, or Duratrax everywhere, or Fast Trax everywhere? I don't know. I don't know. I just know that now Duratrax is not a thing, so now Louise has expanded out. So now Louise is this, and Fast Trax is this. I will get the board. I will get a dry erase in my pocket. We are going to go through the full Canyon tire test protocol. We are going to test these, and I don't know if I'm excessively jazzed up because I made my tea too strong this morning, but perhaps it's just because I'm hopeful, and Slick Rock will determine my mood for pretty much the remainder of the day. So come along with me as we go through another Quickview, and we will see what rocks may bring. I gotta say, on the drive back, they looked pretty good, with one potential plus/minus. This is an upsy-downsy. It tracks super straight. He drove so straight. No tire wobble on the wheel. This can often mean that the sidewall is too thick. So when you get that wander, that means the tire's really soft and squishy. It could just be me filling it in. So yeah. Now, again, whenever we're testing anything, if you see baseline roll out on class 1s, you know there's a caveat, which is class 1, I don't know about anybody else, but to me, class 1 is hard body gubbins, filled with gubbins, and he's not heavy enough. This, I will already say, this combo is probably aiming for something 1 to 2 pounds heavier than what is on top of it. So we have to make an allowance. So what I'm going to try to look at is the maneuverability. Our pure forward drive might not be as high as we would hope, because I think Louise does it. I think Louise does it. With ProLine offerings that I've tested, and J Concepts, and I'm trying to think of who else. They give you a tire and an insert that are too soft, because they will be stellar on baseline at 5 pounds. I don't know many people that are getting a hard-bodied class 1 in at 5 pounds. If you are, then I am wrong. And as I have said, my experience with class 1 is limited at best. I'm still figuring out how to drive it. So whenever you see the bumper get stoved into something, so like right here, we should be able to pull the shuttle. We're not going to get the clean pull. We'll get the shuttle. Can we maneuver it over to the right? Yeah, this tire feels really good. It really does. The lateral movement of it, and what we've got here is when we come up this way, what happens is we get right, okay. No, maybe the foam just needed to set to the tire. Okay. That first hit up there, I was like, oh, that's a lot of slide, and then we're just right over it. Okay. You know what? I still think that the tire is geared towards something a little more heavy. We're not seeing a lot of pooch on the bottom, but this cannot be denied. That cannot be denied. I am gonna go. We only go operate in tenths to get to the cumulative. I'm going to give, and this is a sandbag score, I am going to give a 9.5 on that because strong. And I feel like it's going to translate, but I think if he was a pound heavier, probably a point. Probably another point. We'll see. Maybe just all Class 1 tires are really good. We've got some aggressive spring morning shadows going. I like to try to get the belly a little hung up here because I want to see how we maneuver off of that hang. Right there. Nice. Okay. Stay right. Okay, right there, we're getting a good amount of collapse. Driver rear, but not enough that we'll hop. I'm bobbing my head to the hop. The hop generally means over firm. But we can drive to it. And then on the way down, because of that sidewall, I definitely think the sidewall is a little firmer than what we're used to, particularly when J Concepts enters the chat. J Concepts has a very thin sidewall. Some of them not as thin as the Vanquish. The Falcon Wild Peak is just over a millimeter on the sidewall. It is very thin. Yeah, this tread though is nice. And thicker sidewall, let's hope, fingers crossed, will translate on the side hill. I wanted to try a smooth back down. Yeah, the thicker sidewall is going to have advantages and disadvantages. Everything is a trade-off you got to give to get. There's no such thing as a free lunch. That thicker sidewall is going to be, in our terms, more puncture resistant. You're not going to rip it on rocks and stuff. It is also, like when we did that little rear transition down there, tire didn't flop over. Which is why I think that the insert is a medium soft. See, that looked better there. No, that looked a lot better there. This is a tire, I can tell you right now, is going to need a little bit of run-in. It's going to need a little bit of time. It's going to break in real nice. And I think the way it's set up with the stock foam, which most people are probably going to change, but with that stock foam, the weight range that these will work at is probably, I think you could go into the 7.5 pound range as they are right now. And baseline is between 5 and 5.5 pounds. So like a 2 pound weight range on one setup, that's atypical. Yeah, I will go, we'll bump a point. That's a 9.6 here. That was really well done. This particular obstacle is one of the more difficult asks of tires, as it is a relatively steep side hill. And it gets steeper at the end. We've got that stiffer sidewall. If we get enough slip out of the tread, oh yeah, okay. It was, we're dealing in fractions of a second. There was a moment there where that tire just crabbed over the amount that I wanted it to. I want to get this thing real high up. How high can we get it and not have that sidewall just completely fold? Well, he's sitting on 2 wheels right now. That passenger rear is effectively not touching. We got him way up there. Way up there. And basically, I don't want to make this pass on the first try. It's very rare that they do, because I will key up the entry on this badly. There's that little slip. Was it enough? Okay, that's a lot of transfer. That's a lot of transfer. Stay. Now, put too much into it. The maneuverability is really there. And you've got to put it into a position that's really either very intentional, and that very intentional line would somewhat echo as poorly thought out. I want to see what the tire does in a poorly thought out position. I'm liking the thick sidewall of this, or a sidewall that behaves thickly. It's gonna cost it overall because, like, I think if he was heavier, I don't think it would be an improvement. And I don't want to look too far into the future. I don't want to envision, oh, 3D printed insert in there, bish bosh. I'm looking at the combo, the foam that comes with the tire. So I'm gonna go a 9.3. I'm gonna go a 9.3 on the side hill, which is still very good, but you've got to choose your lines. We're balance beam a little bit on these. A little morning dew on the ground has wetted us up a little, giving the mallet the opportunity to let us down. Ooh. Okay. I want to spin it to win it here a little bit. If nothing else, maybe that'll get a little bit of debris off the tire. I feel like they had it right here. Wow. Sometimes the difference between a pretty good score and a very high score is just a moment. Just a moment. The strength of the mallet is maneuverability. The drawback of the mallet is it's class 1, and it is in the hands of someone who doesn't really know how to drive class 1. I'm out of my vision. I can't. Yeah, there he is. So the stiff sidewall giveth and the stiff sidewall taketh away. Right there, it giveth and taketh away simultaneously. Yeah. This, ladies and gentlemen, in my limited knowledge and experience of Class 1, hey, listen, I'm working on it. This is a Class 1 tire. This is the classiest one tire that I've ever driven because it seems to reward heavy loads being transferred to one tire. This is a fun tire. It doesn't have the absolute most forward drive because I think the Louise Super Soft Compound isn't quite in the same neighborhood as a J Concepts Green or a Vanquish Red or any of the exotic stuff. I think this will be longer wearing. And oh, here's what I'm trying to establish with you. We are 2 inches from pulling the L right there. Any little amount of bump and we're right there. So this is a tire that responds well to a range of throttle inputs. We will try to hit some spots where we give it an irresponsible amount of throttle input. That tread is just working. I do love a tire that has a very LT radial look to it, and these are that. We're not getting the slide back. Oh. You can take a sip of the potion and hit the 3-wheel motion with the best of them on the mallets. The mallets are a driver's tire. These make me feel good in a happy place because they respond. Now, that response, I put the pen in the other pocket and I thought I dropped it. That response is not really going to translate numerically. That is a 9.3 at the beast. There are asterisks throughout in this one. He's going to get a score and he's going to go on the leaderboard, and that score will not, in my opinion, be really indicative because there are X factors here, and I don't know how to quantify those with numbers. That's why they call them X factors, I would assume. and we're out of it. They've got a little bit of magic in them. They're not They're not outright wizardry, but there's a little something extra in the Mallet. I often speak of how physics determine that there is a maximum amount of available grip. Total available grip, there's a maximum. There's no such thing as unlimited grip. Oh, that's so good. Tires and insert combos will move the sliders around on that. You'll get more forward drive, you'll get more lateral positionability, you'll get better side hill performance. This tire exchanges a bit of that forward drive, a not insignificant amount, a notable quantifiable amount. It exchanges that for joy? A rewarding feeling. The maneuverability is top notch, and I think stiff sidewall is a big part of that. I don't feel push. The front end is not pushing. I also, oddly, and this should not be something that occurs, I don't feel like I'm bashing the bumper into stuff as much as I ordinarily do. And I think that's because the positionability here is so high. It's so high. And the catchability. This thing, Baseline is having a day, man. He is spending a lot of time with one or more tires just floating out in open air, because the Mallet is doing something very unexpected, which is it's both providing a sufficient amount of traction, not the most forward drive of any tire, certainly, but it is providing a very high level of traction while at the same time not over collapsing. It's got some snake hips to it. That is what I did not anticipate about this at all. Let's see what we've got in the fore aft torque split here as we wrap around. Is that gonna hold? Again, there's a wheel up. There's a wheel up. Now we're gonna have to push it back a little bit. Get that pumpkin off of there, get it straightened out. I want to hook high up here. Now, yes, there have been a couple tires that have made that turn. They can pull that hook around the top. These are not the most compliant. But I think that I could put a hard body on Baseline right now, and these would still do just fine, which is kind of wild. Like, there's not a ton of compression in that driver front with a lot of load on it, but what that means without that, we're just three-wheeling everywhere. It's like, it's given a leafy vibe, but with a ton of traction. It makes your brain think, I'm gesticulating wildly behind the camera. It makes the rig feel leafy, but exceptionally capable for leafiness. You will set and drop and move and set and drop and roll and lift a tire way up, and it doesn't really get crazy. So in an effort to, in the long and storied history of things like whose line it is and is it anyway, the points are made up and the scores don't mean anything. I'm giving it a 9.7 for that, because while we're not exhibiting the absolute max of anything, we're not ab-maxing anywhere, it's doing exactly what I want it to do. If I give it a little bit of reverse, it goes right there. If I give it a little burst of throttle, it lands exactly where I want it to land. It is a driver's tire, and it is gleeful in how much of a driver's tire it is, especially knowing that with that compound, the way the compound feels in the hand, and with the thickness of the carcass and the sidewall, oh, baby, these are going to last a long time. You're going to get a long, good life out of these. Every movement, every input of trigger and wheel is rewarded. That is X factor. I'm unconsciously, subconsciously, mentally filling in bits and pieces here. Sidewall is going to help here, I think. Yep. Turned in too late. Didn't matter. Still could catch it. The descent there is just solid. Absolutely solid. Sidewall should help here on soft side as well. Ooh, little fender interference there on the rock. Okay, that's you're too far back over to the regular side. We got to come back down this way. Every movement is so deliberate. And there it is right there. Put that tire in the line you want and the tire goes, yeah, okay. That is a thing not previously experienced with other tires. A tire kind of has a line that it prefers. I'm now super distracted. I hope he's on camera off there in the distance. There's a hummingbird over there just zooming around. Hummingbirds are great. Okay, get a little bump in. See, again, right there, not the maximum amount of forward drive, but we're exchanging that forward drive. We get a little shudder. This is a tire. This is, to use simplified terms that don't encompass what we're trying to encompass. This is a good tire, and a good tire can be made great with a really well-matched insert. And I think this is definitely that tire. We find the right insert, this tire has got the speed secret drizzling out of it. Yeah, but in my head, when I said I was pre-filling, I thought we might be able to get a little bit of donkey, because they behave in such a way as that they want more weight pressing down. So get a little hop, but really straight, really straight. These are fully non-directional, as they have embossed print on one side, or raised. What's the opposite of embossed? They have raised text on one side and nothing on the other. So they are designed to be mounted one way or the other. So there's no left and no right. They're non-directional, yet have a very straight pull. And again, so rewarding in that you aim it, they go. Sidewall should stiffen us up and allow us to flop here. Boop. Steer to the sky. Yep. There's a little catch. Again, this is a thing. This is a thing that I've been meaning to mention on, and I haven't mentioned before. Baseline has been set at 50% reverse on his Fusion 1200 since the Fusion 1200 was installed in him, because he was never the Class 1 tester. He was never the designated Class 1 tester. Class 1 for reverse for that self-right maneuver really kind of needs 75%, because your wheel speed is dropping a notable amount. Ooh, now see, that, ladies and gentlemen, friends, family, canyoneros, if I want to roll him, he will roll for me. So steer to the sky reverse, steer to the ground forward. That's really good. If he had more reverse thrust, he would be whipping it to wheels. And as such, boop up a doo, Daphne's third is a 9.6. Self-right is a 9.8. That's a phenomenal self-right. It's so good. If he had the ability, if he had 75% reverse set on speed control, or you're running anything with an outrunner, these are on the wheels. Boom, bam, on the wheels every time. They don't have the mass or the size to whip you onto the roof. You're just gonna self-right. And on the bump, again, I'm gonna go 9.6. There's really only one thing that can harsh our mellow, and I don't think it's going to. I think his wet performance is going to drop the usual 2 to 3 tenths that we experience. And I think mushing around in the dirt, I think he's gonna do just fine, because I think that this is a mixed terrain tire that happens to be really, really good at rock crawling. This is, 2 tests not yet completed, my favorite Class 1 tire, hands down. Old flat iron, tusk, landmines, pivots, doesn't matter. It's the Mallet. Why didn't they give us these? The Louise Mallet is good. It's really good. And beyond the good, rewarding. Like, your motion is with your hand on the trigger and the wheel is replicated by the tire on the rock. And that feels good, man. I acknowledge that over here at Teardrop, we're not explicitly testing surface transition, not as much as I had earlier on tried to convince myself that we were. We're really testing transitioning. We're testing stability when we do dumbs, when we do that. What is the outcome when we do that? And it does give us the ability to hoon around in the dirt, get some load in the tires. Yeah, big stuff, bang. These feel, the number that I can't write down on the little board, these feel phenomenal. Like, he's so put together. And again, yes, they really do respond to a wide range of throttle inputs. For those out there sitting there right now that like the pivot, the Durtrex pivot, the pivot is a watered down mallet. The mallet is the pivot ascended, the pivot elevated. We should have gotten these. We should have gotten these. These are just great. Yeah, we knew I was stuffing bumper there. I think the comment, well, let me get out into the, I'll drive out into the succulents over here, and I'll try to get a little bit more water up in the tires, and then we'll get in right here, and we'll do a little bit of this. Okay, those are reasonably loaded, and that will allow us to complete our teardrop score over when we, this is the proper transitioning test where we load them up as much as we can, and then we go to Slick Rock and we see what we do with a bunch of dirt. Okay, those, we've got properly glazed donuts on there now. How bad is it gonna be? Because that will impact this score. I have a notion of what the teardrop score should be, but I wanna see it with those crummy donuts on a smooth rock surface. We've used the same as seen on TV, not a pressure washer, but like you put it on your hose and it's a pressure washer. It actually works really good for like getting bird poop off the obstacles. But I was finally betrayed by Amazon brass quick disconnects for the hose. I had to get a wrench to get that quick disconnect off. So these will load. These will definitely load. And they are right, I think. Okay, now I'm getting the rear end hooked up. I think this is an instance where, I mean, you can see it's not all the colors of the wind, but we're definitely doing some painting over here. I think we're gonna do a little better on wet than we did with just mud load, because we've got a wet dry problem happening here. As such, I'm gonna have to dock him a little bit, but we got up there. I'm gonna have to dock him a little bit on the transition score. We're going from a lot of mud to the none of mud. Every time I put the pen in my pocket, I put it in a different pocket. We're gonna go, we haven't gone below a 9.3, and at this point I'm convinced to not go below a 9.3. These will have to be an absolute abject failure on wet for me to change my opinion of these. Yeah, I was like, well, we could just spray it down with the hose, and I'm like, we've done every single wet test with that nozzle. The nozzle is part of it. We got to do the nozzle. Now it might take a minute for the wet to clear the remainder of the mud. Oh, they are trying. You see the little, oh, just that little bit of forward pull. Okay, shuttling. Getting class 1. I'm staying into it here. I'm staying in it. see the transfer here. There's that sidewall. That sidewall held it as long as it could. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. Now, this is a big ask. Slick Rock Wet is, come on. Slick Rock Wet is a big ask. But you know what? I said 2 to 3/10, and I think that's exactly where we are. I would definitely, I mean, because this is more wet river rock than just wet rock. If this was wet sandstone, I don't think the difference would be as pronounced. There we go. Look at that. So after doing a little bit of back in the napkin math, which is in this case a little bit of dry erase on a little tiny whiteboard that I carry around on a piece of paracord, 94.9 for the mallet, which is, again, actually a little higher than I thought it was going to score. I was anticipating a 94 or maybe just under a 94. Now, in the class 1s, this puts it pretty good. It's doing okay. I don't know if we got a full numeric score on the pivot. I don't know if the Duratrex pivot predated the most modern iteration of the Canyon Tire Test Protocol. This is a better tire than the pivot. The Louise Mallet is superior to the Duratrex pivot in that it is more maneuverable, more rewarding to drive. In my opinion, better to look at because the pivot has that kind of rounded off shoulder on it, and people have somehow incepted me into not liking the rounded shoulder. This is a good tire. There's an X factor on that. 94.9, but I think if your rig is a pound heavier, it's still a 94.9. I think if it's a pound heavier than that, it's still a 94.9. This is a very good foam to tire relationship. And to me, that is valuable because you shouldn't have to discard the included foams immediately. And if you're running in the dry, if you don't go out when it's wet, so long as you can get a moderately good side hill out of it, what are your reasons to change the open cell foam? If the open cell foam matches the vehicle, and I think it's a little over firm for him, I think the tire acts a little firm for him, and we still managed to eke a 94.9 out of it. We may indeed find ourselves having the capability to test these on something more, air quotes, properly class 1, hard body, heavier, etc. See how they do under those circumstances in that situation. But on the day, 94.9 is not a score to be sneezed at. We have the board is becoming very populated in that 94 to 98 region right in there. It's where tires fall. This is a very good tire. And I like it a lot, and I like it to the point where it will be rotated into service almost immediately. I have 3 vehicles that are at the top of my mental list of who are going to receive the mallets because I like them. And HRP is currently, so far as I know, the only U.S. source for Louise, short of buying them internationally. Also, Louise carry with them the old-timey Duratrex pricing. They're like $24 a pair, which nowadays is cheap. So the mallet from Louise, 94.9. But actually, I mean, your results may vary. He's going straight over. They may even, in your usage, be a little bit better than that. I think they're very versatile. And they might load, you might have a little bit of potential problems with mud loading. So if you're somewhere very muddy, I think that the lug will be a little too tight for your very muddy area. But this is a trail tire, in my estimation, that just happens to be really good at rock crawling. It's a very capable rock crawling tire, and I'm really happy with it, especially at $24 a pair. And that is, at this moment, all I have to say about that. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please do tune in for whatever we have coming next. I would like to implore you to, in between now and when we meet again, please one and all do your very best to have a good one, everybody. We will see you again very soon here from the canyon. We do indeed are provided with the opportunity to perform the traditional, as is tradition, drive out of frame. Baseline will be heading back to, let's be honest, probably put on a different set of tires. That's how we work around here. We'll see you next time, everybody.